Now, if you look at the numbers for Thailand, what is notable for 2023 so far is the really weak and even contracting exports of goods. I think Thailand can do it, but there's no free lunch. It will have to be driven by reforms. So the sort of strategy and plan to get there is relatively clear. I think what is needed is just the sort of taking those actions to get there. Therefore, it will boost activities, consumption in the short term, but it's a short-term boost. To get to really 5%, you need reforms. Right? You need reform that will be more sustainable, and you need to really also improve the quality of spending. Not only to share prosperity with the citizens of Thailand today, but also with the citizens of Thailand in the future.
So as discussed at the annual meetings this year, from the World Bank perspective and from your perspective, what are the key global challenges in the rest of this year and 2024?
So inflation globally is high, is relatively high in many parts of the world, right? And this is because of high energy prices. Oil and gas prices are quite high, and they are really a key determinant of inflation in many countries. Food prices are also very high. Because we've seen some supply shocks and then some difficulties in the supply chains in general. And as a result, central banks have had to increase their interest rate, and yet we're still seeing a very strong labor market, for example, in the US. So which means that perhaps interest rate will keep being quite high for a bit longer.
Higher for longer.
Higher for longer, and that could be until the early part of 2024. Now in Thailand, it's a different story. Inflation in Thailand is actually relatively low compared to even ASEAN countries. And this is because of price control and price caps, which translate into higher subsidies. So the fiscal cost of maintaining inflation is quite high. Now the key question for a country like Thailand is how things will evolve. What is the outlook for inflation if commodity prices continue to be high, if global food prices continue to be high, and the government maintains those controls. So what is the fiscal cost and how the government will manage it?
What are the most significant challenges facing Thailand economy?
Now, if you look at the numbers for Thailand, what is notable for 2023 so far is the really weak and even contracting exports of goods. You've seen contraction in export of goods for many months. That is reflective of the weak global demand for goods that we are seeing. So it is affecting Thailand directly. Looking ahead, there are sort of risks to the growth outlook. So the bank is projecting growth at 3.4% this year, which is better than last year. Last year was 2.6%, but 3.4 is still lower than most large ASEAN economies. So it is important for Thailand to really step up the efforts to boost growth and create more jobs and good jobs in the future. And if you have government really implementing serious measures, structural reforms to boost the economy. Thailand has been postponing many important reforms for many years. If those are finally tackled, I think it will really help Thailand to reach its growth target, which is 5%. And the ambition of Thailand is to join the rank of the high-income economies by 2037. For that, you need a 5% economic growth. I think Thailand can do it, but there's no free lunch. It will have to be driven by reforms. I mentioned agricultural productivity. All the things that the government can do to boost agricultural productivity will help Thailand to get closer to that target of 5%. Opening up the sort of services sector, non-tourism services sector to competition will also help increase productivity, investment, and growth, and get Thailand to closer to that target. And then some additional reforms around executing all those infrastructure projects that Thailand has in the pipeline would also be a boost to growth. So the sort of strategy and plan to get there is very relatively clear. I think what is needed is just the sort of taking those actions to get there.
In Thailand, there is one issue that we are debating a lot. It is the new Thai government's economic stimulus policy, stimulus. So what do you think about that?
Maybe a couple of questions. One is, how do you finance it, given the current fiscal context? Second is, what could you do with that amount? Is it the best use of 3% of GDP? And then the third question is, what does it do to fiscal consolidation? I mentioned earlier the need for Thailand to go back to lower fiscal deficit. So now if you add 3% of GDP to the fiscal situation today, you're going opposite to that direction. How do you manage that? Therefore, it will boost activities, consumption in the short term, but it's a short-term boost. To get to really 5%, you need reforms, right? You need reform that will be more sustainable, and you need to really also improve the quality of spending.
From those challenges, and we are living in different story if we compare to the global economy, right? What fiscal or monetary policy should Thailand use to address our challenge?
I think fiscal policy will be really important. It has been important in supporting Thailand during the COVID period. And because of good fiscal management in the past, Thailand has had the fiscal space to manage the COVID situation relatively well. However, the country will really need to implement fiscal consolidation gradually to get back to more reasonable, getting to lower level will help Thailand to really manage future shocks, because the shocks will come. And at the same time, another dimension of fiscal policy is really sort of improving the composition of spending and the efficiency of spending, because today there's a lot of spending going into energy subsidy. So this is helping to protect the population, etc. But then it crowds out, that spending crowds out important other priority spending, such as spending more on social assistance program, the existing ones, such as the old age allocation program, but also spending more on water resource and water security, for example, and energy transition. All of those are really important, not only to share prosperity with the citizens of Thailand today, but also with the citizens of Thailand in the future.